Hello, story 31. Actually, no, story 32. I'm going to tell all of them. I know some of them I've got some that are pretty fantastic, and I've got some that are fairly mundane. I say mundane. Poltergeist, we're just trying to get attention for whatever reason. But this scared the heck out of me and my wife. It really did. It's one of the ones that scared me enough that we fled. So I laugh about it now. I was like 20 years old, newlywed. She was 19, and we had a baby, our daughter, and she was just months old, probably 4 or 5 months old, something like that. So back then, I had a trailer that I rented. It was in the country. It was in its own little lot, yard, big yard. It was an old single-wide trailer. Nothing fancy, cheap rent, no neighbors, life's good, barbecue fire pit in the backyard, and little paths through the woods and all that good stuff, you know, country living in a single-wide trailer. Well, what did I get to this? I'm just going to get to it. At this time, my daughter, who was 4 or 5 months old, was in the very back of the trailer, that's to say that way. And the front yard would be I'd be facing the front yard inside the trailer. And the kitchen's over here. They're all laid out the same, those single wides. Then you got a hallway with usually a bedroom, a bathroom, and a laundry room. And at the very end, the master bedroom in this love shack. It's in the very back, the bedroom. And our daughter was laying on top of our bed, sound asleep. It was summertime, and it was nighttime, and we didn't have a TV on, and we're sitting in the living room side of this, you know, these single wides. The living room and the kitchen are all the same room. Just one side of that room has kitchen stuff. The other side is wide open for your couch, TV, and whatever. So sitting there with my wife at the time, ex-wife now, we're just quietly, not even talking. We're sitting on the couch, just staring out across our front yard, because in front of us, on the other side of the trailer room, living room, was a huge window, you know, the living room window, a big one. And there were no curtains to speak of, and wasn't anything to look at, just my yard. Looked like I had about 2 or 3 acre front yard. And it was moonlit, and lit the whole yard up, and that plays into this because we're just sitting there, no TV on, no radio, nothing, just staring, not talking even. Just bored, and nighttime. And next thing you know, coming from right to left, this glowing, looked like it was glowing white ghost, quite definable arms and legs, strolls right in front of our window, across the front yard, going right to left. And couldn't make out any features or any clothes. It looked like a glowing white Gumby, you know, without the bent head. But you can make out the arms, legs, torso, and head. And it looked like it was glowing because it was that ethereal white ghost color. But the moonlight was lighting everything up. And I think that really made it stand out quite brightly. And we both saw it. And I said, what the F was that? I remember. And she's like, I don't know. I get a kick out of it because I can still remember hearing her voice. She sounded terrified. And we both jumped up off the couch because we were both scared. We both saw this thing stroll right in front of our window. It was probably about 15 feet out. As you could see the whole thing just strolling, walking right across, arms swinging. Next thing you know, on the front of my trailer, I drew a picture of it. Pretty crude picture, but it will give you the idea of what the trailer looked like, and the whole layout of the yard and the front yard, and my car parked out there. All right, that picture. So as you can see, it's just a single wide, surrounded by woods, big yard, cars parked right there, and it's got a homemade 2x4 and plywood front porch that somebody put on there, right? And that's a pretty crude drawing, but it gives you an idea of the layout. So off that now. All right. I'm developing with these videos. Bear with me. So we're both standing up now. We're cringing because we just saw this thing stroll in front of us, in front of the trailer. And then on the porch, the front porch of this thing, had a bunch of paint cans that were empty, kind of stacked up against the wall because I've been painting. And it had a garbage can, and it had some other things, buckets and stuff. Next thing you know, we both hear all the paint cans, garbage can, things getting thrown around on the porch. Just like somebody's ransacking the porch. And we're scared. I mean, she was really scared, and I was too a bit. So we're both standing there cringing in the middle of this living room. And then where the door opens into the front porch from our kitchen area was a heavy chain that altogether was probably about 2.5 feet long. But it was attached, one part here on the wall, and the other part was attached to the part of the door. So the door opened out, so it would catch it, so it wouldn't just swing all the way out, and hit things. But it was a fairly heavy chain, and if you unattached it, it would probably have been about that long. So it was a substantial chain. And that thing picked up right in front of us, just picked up and levitated. And then we both saw it, we're speechless, and it goes wham, slams real hard up against the door. Now we're scared. And she says, I remember, she said, I'm scared. Like that, my wife, she was like 18 or 19. I said, I am too. And then I look around, and behind us, where the back of the couch was up against the wall, was another big window. No curtains, of course, because it's my place. I don't know what it is with me and curtains. Bachelor pad digs. But I looked, and I seen in the backyard, which is lit up by moonlight, this thing strolling around. Now it's like circling the trailer. Now it's going back behind the trailer. And I said, it's behind us. And she saw it too. And we're like really scared. And then I remember my daughter's down this dark hallway in the bedroom with the lights turned off, sleeping soundly. And I said, let's get out of here, right? And she says, yes. And I said, I'll get the car, things ready, go back there and get Ann. Because honestly, I chickened out a little bit. I didn't want to go down that dark hallway. That's the direction that thing was moving, towards the back of the trailer, where it came from, outside. And she says, you go get her, right? And I look at her, and I know that, neither of us want to go down there alone, which is not very good for us. And I said, let's both go get her. So we both went down there, dark hallway, dark bedroom. Last direction this glowing spook was seen strolling. Not knowing what to expect. And nothing, my daughter's in there sleeping soundly, not awake, undisturbed. So we bundled her up, got a few things, went out to my car real quick. And sure enough, on my front porch, everything was knocked over and trashed. So we weren't just hearing things. And we got in the car and we drove off to my parents. They were about 5 or 6 miles away. And we stayed with them for the weekend, as I recall. And then we came back to our trailer, and nothing ever happened again. That was the only time that happened out there, that one and only time. And there was no other spookiness of any sort. So I always got the impression that something was just passing through on a little mischief and saw a couple of people to mess with. And it did. And honestly, I get a chuckle out of it because I remember both of her and our reaction. I freaked out. She freaked out even worse. But I can still hear her say, I'm scared. And she was almost to the point of tears. And I'm like, yeah, me too. And I pushed out, go back and get Ann. I'll get the stuff, we'll go to the car. And she called my bluff. You go get her. I'm like, let's both go get her. So I get a kick out of it. But that's a story 30, I think it's 32. Poltergeist pays a visit at Trailer 1. And I've got stories about Trailer 2, because I've lived in some really old, kind of poor digs, trailers, single wides, and I've lived in some mansions. And like I said, I don't think that the spooks seem to differentiate the spirits between rich or poor. You know, a mansion or an old beat-up single-wide trailer out in the boondocks. I've lived in both. And I'll get around to the stories on the trailer too. I've already told, I think, story 19. I told about the occurrences that happened in the yard around that place in the woods and down the road with the Indian spirit in the tree and the white hawk. But there were a lot of things that happened inside of that place as well over the course of 8 years I lived there. And I want to say something to make it clear. It might be easy to watch these videos and think these things happen to me every day. They don't. This is over the course of my life. Now, I will say I've lived in some places and at some times where these things were an everyday occurrence. But I've also gone years where nothing's happened. Well, it's just, I think it seems to be tied to what's going on with me spiritually. I'm always trying to find God and keep God in keep close to God. And it also seems to be tied to the where I'm at. You know, the place seems to be, I don't know. All right, that's all. Ouch. Thanks for watching.